If women don't help each other, if we don't give opportunities to each other, who will? Hello, my name is Beatrice. I run an NGO for autistic adults. We are called AIDA. At the same time, I'm also an entrepreneur and I run a startup that is also building a platform for autism. I think for me, I've come a very long way from where I used to be. I've spent the last 15 years navigating a very tumultuous healthcare and mental healthcare journey where I have been misdiagnosed with multiple different mental illnesses until about a couple of years ago where somebody spotted something and finally diagnosed me correctly with autism. It had been an interesting journey. I would never call anything difficult because I think that's life. We generally have a very low and stigmatized view of people with mental health label, and especially now, a lot of us don't understand autism. I almost always feel that I live in a world where it's not built for me because everything is too bright, too loud, too difficult to understand, and a very stigmatized how society has a very stigmatized view on people with autism, the meltdowns that we have. And because I'm very public with who I am, I write a lot about my journey and I'm a very vocal mental health advocate that had essentially made me unemployable in the eyes of a lot of people. So I have to speak louder, tell my story a lot more for people to understand where we come from, and I have to find my own path in life to become an entrepreneur. I don't know if it's a strength, but I know from early on, I certainly view the world very differently. I know that my perception of the world is very different, and as I understand myself more with my late diagnosis, I now know why I am very, very meticulous with certain things, and I'm starting to learn how my brain processes information. So I certainly look at things in a very systematic way. I'm a visual thinker, and that really changed how I navigate around, how I could plan things, how I could imagine things that people can't just by absorbing information that people don't usually think is important. And I think one of the things that I've always thought was normal, but until recently I realized that not a lot of people actually remember everything that they read. So from a very young age, I could flip a book and I would remember everything on every single page. I mean, I would like to see that it's a strength because it means that I always believe that knowledge is power. The more you know, the more you are able to find languages to express yourself about the things that you believe in, your convictions. So I would like to say that me being able to hold on to knowledge and information had really been a blessing. I've always been called a Miss Know-It-All, and I think people had always laughed about it. But it had also made me very analytical, and being able to see the forest for the tree had been a very important skill for me, especially in my years in production being a producer. It helped me in finding solutions. So I always have a plan A, plan B, plan C, and I think as a TV producer, that really is a strength because anytime that you're on a shoot day, whatever that could go wrong would go wrong. But aside from that, it had also helped me into understanding how community and society work, which is kind of an irony because I don't really integrate into a lot of different groups. I never quite felt like I belong, and I've always felt like I was an outside observer, despite me not being able to intuitively do that for myself. But that helped me to also form a lot of opinions, a lot of ways in solution-based that I'm now putting into my tech startup. I think that had been a gift that I've really enjoyed, and I've really found it as a blessing to be able to think that way, so that I now in turn can also help women who are like me. Hopefully this way of thinking and my thought process, could help girls not be as lost as me, and to grow up not having to navigate the stigma that I've had to go through. Equity and also inclusion, and especially in understand the diversity of the many different type of neurotypes people around in our society. We certainly don't understand people who are different because we are always scared of what we don't know. And I'll always remember this incident where in trying to get a lot of my medical records back on track, and also when I was going through my diagnosis, because I had been wrongfully put into a psychiatric ward before and being given different type of treatment that I shouldn't have been. And one day I turned up and tried to get my medical records, and because it's shown on the record that I was an ex-psychiatric patient, I could truly see that the fear in the receptionist's eye, the admin clerk who was supposed to give, and she was afraid. And there is also this unseen rule where they actually told me that hey, we can't give it directly to you because you're a psychiatric patient. And that was for the very first time that I finally realized how little equity and how little autonomy I have over my own life. And that is how stigma works against people like me with a lot of all these challenges. It obviously agitated me, and I had to call someone else, and that person is of no relation of me, and somehow he had managed to gain her trust to actually pass him information about me. And that put you as a person into a spot of feeling how small and how little that you are, and that shouldn't be the way of how we treat people who are different. From that incident, I have made it a mission, or somewhat a calling, on spending the next half of my life in building solution businesses, writing, advocating, and I feel that everyone needs to uphold this right, and especially even more with people who are ostracized because they are different. As a society, we need to be able to scaffold them and put them and elevate them above, so that their voice and their experience is also being heard and being made valid in every space in this life. I mean, things are changing, but we could also see that women don't often get elevated, and especially if you're already different and you're a woman, you're facing a lot more challenges. So when I look at who are the people who are helping me in producing the work that I want to, my team that I'm building, the beneficiary from the social enterprise that I'm building, I am looking at it from end to end to involve my community, to involve women-led companies. Because if women don't help each other, if we don't give opportunities to each other, who will?